Thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your night to come learn. I thank you so much. Hope you guys had an absolutely fantastic day. So today I want to talk about two extraordinarily important topics. Both of these topics will pretty much make or break your trading. First and foremost is psychology and the mental aspect of the trading. Secondary, when we get into that, will be the journaling and pretty much reviewing your trades. If you don't do your journaling or your monthly recaps, how do you expect to get better, right? So anyway, the first one, I'm probably going to hurt someone's feelings here, but it's needed, I promise. Tough love is important. So it's the psychology aspect. Reasons people fail at trading. First, you have a subpar strategy. You do not follow a strategy. You have no game plan. You don't really know what you're doing. This is a fixable issue. Secondary, you have a subpar psychology. This is also fixable. So the third, you do not believe that you can even make it in the first place, right? You have that loser's mentality. For every setback, every loss, AKA the entire learning curve, it feels like you're never going to make it. If you don't think you're going to make it, you will not make it. That's 100%. You won't make it. You must believe in yourself, then you will make it. So if you have this possibly victim mentality, or if you think, all these losses are defining me, et cetera, that's really not the case. So let me see here. I think I have a picture of it right here. Expectations, this is what you want to happen. But in reality, the progress that you don't think is actually progress is still inherently progress. As long as you are not, in a sense, thinking you're a failure every single day just because you take one singular loss or a couple losses really doesn't matter, right? So, okay, what the heck do I even mean by this? So just because you might not had the best day today, or maybe even the best month this month, right? Doesn't necessarily really mean anything in the big picture, right? Because let's say you have been taking losses for 4 weeks straight. You're down 50% of your account, wherever, right? So, and most times people will get really frustrated with this, and they think, okay, I'm gonna, I'm not gonna make it. I'm never gonna make it. We come back to this, and that's not really the one, the mentality you want to have, because if you think about it, you're zoomed in way too close, because you're only thinking that weekly or maybe that monthly basis, but you're leaving out the rest of the entire year. There's still 11 more months of the entire year. Even if you had a subpar week or a subpar month, that really doesn't mean anything. I'd rather look at your quarter. How did you do this quarter? Okay, how did you do this year, right? You want to think about it in that grand scheme of things. You don't want to think about it in the short term. Oh my goodness, I just lost 4 days in a row. Okay, there's still, the entire rest of the year. So just because you took a couple losses, you don't want to let those losses define you. You don't want to get into this victim mentality and just the loser mentality. Like statistically, you will lose in the stock market, period. Like you will take losses. It's statistically probable. You will do it. So it's how you actually handle the losses is what defines you. Okay, you're going to be pretty much bitch mode and just close your laptop in frustration and not review your trades, which we come to here? Or are you going to be like, okay, let me be accountable with myself and just understand that it's the name of the game. Statistically, I'm going to lose sometimes. I'm not going to be on a winning side every singular time. So let me not huff and puff about it. Let me, before I close my laptop or whatever the case, let me just sit down, write about it, why everything is fresh in your mind, and be like, okay, well, I did this incorrectly. Maybe I did this right. I have an example of that we'll go over in a couple minutes, but that's kind of what I'm getting at. Just because you have a couple losses really honestly doesn't matter. So another thing I want to talk about, when someone says, I'm quitting trading because I don't have time, it means that they never believed that they would make it in the first place. Time and effort is never ever the issue if you're absolutely certain that you will get to the finish line and there will be a pot of gold waiting for you. You just keep going until you get there. Remember that, because you might just say, oh, I don't have time. I know a trader beforehand last year that was has a family, works 60 hours a week, and still, every single day came into the market, was learning, was, reviewing their trades, everything. So they went from pretty much having 3 kids, family, 60 hours a week, basically being a new trader, and they just kept going, kept going, kept going. They knew they were going to make it. And fast forward a year, they now have 6 figures. So if you are making excuses, what is your excuse? This person had 3 kids, worked 60 hours a week, and still made time for this, right? So just remember that. Don't quit because you quote unquote don't have time. You have time. It's your priorities. Are you going to be scrolling on Instagram? Are you going to be out flexing for some homies? Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to be out spending money, or are you going to be inside studying, studying, studying? And once it's back to that exact same picture. You don't want to be thinking short term. You want to be thinking long term, and know that it's compounding. If I study every single day, even if it's 15 minutes extra a day, that compound interest over a year is exponential. Just imagine yourself. Okay, we start right now in November. Challenge yourself, even if you do an extra 10 or 15 minutes of studying every single day. You can even take the weekends off. Sure. Let's say you do it for 5 days every single week, right? Now, 10 minutes per day extra that you weren't doing before. Now, times that through an entire year. Take a guess where your trading will be from now into a year later, right? Your trading will be exponentially better because you put in that little bit of extra work, right? So please don't say you don't have time. It's your priorities. You got to change the priorities, and you just got to understand that you might have to put a little bit more work in, but right, the work that you do put in will, as long as you're doing the correct things, then it doesn't really matter. Even if you put in 5 extra minutes a day, 20 extra minutes a day, it really doesn't matter. The compounding interest throughout that couple months or throughout that year will be advantageous to you in the long run. So that's just something I kind of want to talk about, honestly. And then another thing, your entire mindset throughout the entire process, like your entire learning curve and your trading journey, right? Your mindset is really, really important. It shifts your perspective on any problem. So let's kind of do the comparisons. Let's do the negative. So if your mindset is negative, each time you take a loss, you step back, you think, okay, wow, geez, this is just honestly not for me. I'm never going to make this. This is not possible. I don't have the time. I just keep losing, losing, losing. That is a self-sabotaging mindset. When you have that self-sabotaging mindset, you will not make it because your brain is telling you won't, and you're listening to your brain, right? Therefore, let's bring in the positivity. Okay, what is this setback telling me? How can I learn from it? How can I adjust so that this next time, right? I don't, how do I put it? How can I adjust so this doesn't repeat moving forward and minimize the damage next time, right? So can I just elaborate more is for the positivity shift, you understand that, hey, losses will happen. What type of improvements can I make going forward in order to actually be more efficient next time? So it could be just really simple. Okay, maybe my entries was a little bit too late. Maybe I'm just sizing in really heavy. Okay, that's a simple fix, just size down, right? So that's the importance of the number 2, journaling. If you don't journal, if you don't have the data, how do you expect to improve, right? So this is something that sometimes people will do. So, okay, this is one type of Actually, before I get into that, let me kind of finish my thought process. So we already explained the negative, which is basically self-sabotaging. And then we went to the positive mindset, which is actually pretty empowering and just understanding that, hey, it's a loss. It's not going to define me, right? It's just a learning lesson. No big deal. So in both instances, it's the same problem, just completely different angles of looking at it. One positive, one negative. One suffocates you, one empowers you. So which angle do you want? Do you want the positive or do you want the negative? I really would hope you would say the positive, right? So that's just kind of my spiel on the psychology aspect. There's tons and tons more. I have a lot of videos on my YouTube about psychology. I'm really big on that aspect, but just to kind of, for time's sake, I want to go into the journaling because this is really important as well. So sometimes when people quote unquote journal, this is their journaling. Let's see if this is you. Okay, I entered Apple. I entered 1031. I entered at 150 and I cut at 160. That's it. That is the review. Nothing else. So what the hell are you going to learn from this? Literally what, like if you come back from 2 weeks, so like fast forward 2 weeks and you just look at this, what information are you literally going to like gather from this at all? Okay, you took Apple calls, excuse me, Apple calls this date and you made $10, right? How you don't know anything, right? So something that I would recommend is going much more in depth and reviewing with thought process. So I have a template that I like to use. Where is it? By the way, if anyone wanted this, it's right here. The expectations reality. I know someone asked for it. I'll leave that up for like 2 seconds. But anyway, so this is a trade review that this is just an old trade review. I just took a screenshot of before the class, but this is how I would recommend actually formulating your journaling process. You have a couple different criteria. Okay, what the trade was, obviously Oxy, 75 calls. How long was it? What was the setup? Did you win or lose? All right. In this case, this was an 11% loss. What were my mistakes, my thought process, my trade management, my improvements? And throughout this entire dialogue, I do not self-deprecate myself one singular time, because when you self-deprecate, it's sending a subconscious signal to you that, hey, it just being negative and being self-deprecating to yourself is really, really counterproductive. You don't want to do that. You want to instead focus on the positivity aspects. But like you can kind of see this, my mistakes, I ended up buying a top. I traded without a plan. I was kind of emotional that day. And then I thought, Exxon was relative strength. I entered Oxy. I entered at full size. So one mistake was I entered full size first. I didn't size in. I chased the top, right? I ended up getting rejected, and then some improvements, right? Some improvements, but okay, trade with a plan. Don't chase tops. And then I always give myself a kudos, even if the trade was really, really subpar. There's got to be something that I did all right. And this is my something. Even though I entered the trade quite poorly, I stayed calm during the trade as it was going against me and at least salvaged some money back, right? So that's my kudos to myself, because you want to give yourself positive reinforcement. Or if you don't give yourself positive reinforcement, you're just focusing only on the negatives, negative, more than likely, you're just not going to review your trades, because when you understand like the psychology behind it, if you just keep saying negative, it just doesn't really, your brain's not going to want you to do more trade reviews going forward, because it's just going to bring up more negativity, right? But if you give yourself some sort of kudos or some sort of, constructive feedback that's a positive, then it sends a nice signal to your brain that's giving you positivity and a positive reinforcement, therefore reinforcing actually doing your trade reviews, right? Because this is something I struggled with for probably like 12 months when I first started trading. I generally just wouldn't review trades. I would literally take a loss and then just close my computer and be like, oh, let me just, swipe this under the rug. And I would just come back in the next day, act like nothing happened the day before. And what do you think happened? because I didn't review my trades or because I don't really know what the heck I was doing incorrectly, that same mistake I was just doing over and over and over again. But here's the actual picture. So you want to have dialogue, and you want to have the actual, entries and exits alongside of it. So here is where I entered, I reduce some size, and then I full cut up here. All right. So this is something I would recommend doing, is honestly, instead of just having very little data, something like that, I would recommend giving yourself more information, because if you think about it, you're going to be doing monthly recaps, right? So once you review your trades, say 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, you're not going to get much information from this. Like, how are you going to learn from this? How are you going to figure out what you need to improve on, in a sense? Whereas if you have all of this information already here, you can kind of quickly get over, like, so here, let me go the hard route and the easier route. So the easier route, if you do your trade reviews on a daily or a weekly basis, it becomes much, much easier to gather your data at the end of the month, right? So that's the easy route. Or the harder route is if you do not do any of your trade reviews the entire month, and then you wait until literally the end of the month to do your monthly recap. You're just most likely just not going to do it, because it's going to take a lot more time. So, your brain's just going to be like, nah, this is going to take a couple hours, I'm not going to do this. So if you want to be accountable with yourself and on top of things, it's much better and easier just to kind of review your trades that same day, because it's already fresh in your mind. It's like, okay, well, I did this, this, and this, and it's already fresh in my mind. If I come back and review that trade from 2 weeks from now, that's not really in my mind anymore. I don't even remember what the hell I ate for breakfast 2 days ago. How am I going to remember this trade from 2 weeks ago? Right. So you always want to do your reviewing pretty much the same day while it's fresh in your mind, and just kind of go in this mentality, be like, okay, what the heck mistakes did I do? Why did I enter this trade? What happened during the trade? And then what can I possibly improve on? Right. So then when you do your monthly recap towards the end of the month, you can kind of quickly go back and, over those 4 weeks and be like, okay, what is something that I have done very often that I know I should improve on? And then you can kind of see it really quickly. Hey, out of my 4 weeks, what were my top mistakes? And is it something that's repeating over and over and over again? Like, for example, for this one, over the last 4 weeks, how have I been doing? Have I been buying the top? Have I been chasing? No. Okay, that's not really my issue. This is just a one-time thing. Okay, maybe it's this. Maybe I'm not. I haven't been trading without a plan. So out of, let's say, 20 trades this month, it looks like my mistakes, 17 out of 20 times I didn't trade with a plan. And 17 of these, I ended up taking losses. Well, ding, 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 ding. You just found out a massive red flag. You're not trading with a plan. Why do you think you're taking losses? Right. So doing so can really help you be accountable with yourself. And it kind of just, because if you don't have enough data, how do you expect to improve? This is a prime example from myself 2 months ago when I was reviewing my trades, doing my monthly recap. I didn't know this at the time, but so kind of just to paint the picture, um, how do I put it? I was trading, so for my second half of the days, I was taking a lot of losses, and I didn't really understand why I was taking a lot of losses. And I was just like, oh, maybe it's just, maybe I'm just not getting the best entries, whatever, whatever. But then when I actually reviewed my trades more in depth, I realized really quickly that I was taking a lot of losses primarily in the second half of the day, simply because I was trading zero DTE. It seemed as though most of my losses from the second half of the day came because of zero DTE. And if I didn't know that, if I didn't have that data, I would just probably keep repeating the exact same thing and then just still lose money. But now that I uncovered the issue, I realized, okay, well, this is a really, really simple fix. Just don't trade zero DTE after lunchtime. Once I fixed that, and had a little bit of a shift in my strategy, I don't really take many losses in the second half of the day anymore, right? So this is kind of something I'm stressing. If you don't have the data and figure out what the hell you're doing over the last couple days, couple months, couple whatever, you're not going to ever know what you're inherently doing incorrectly that you can fix. Like for me, going back to that example, if I didn't have, 20, 30 trades in my reviews that I was looking at, and I found that one specific same aspect throughout most of my losses was that 0 DTE, right? If I didn't think about that, or if I didn't just kind of just swept my losses under the rug, more likely I'd still be trading 0 DTE right now, right? 2 months later. So I ended up just completely cutting those out after lunchtime, and my trading has definitely improved because of that. So this is the importance of reviewing and journaling your trades. Is pretty much when you review your trades in this specific mannerism, you can start uncovering issues that you might have not realized at the forefront, right? Right. It's probably somewhere back in your subconscious, but you're not really able to pull it to the front until you really start seeing it, right? Until you start seeing it on a piece of paper, like, and look at the statistics, like, wow, I lost 70% of the time last month because I was trading 0 DTE. That's literally the easiest, biggest, quickest fix. Don't trade 0 DTE after lunchtime. Boom, easy. Right. So super, super, super easy. Right. So then, okay, now let's kind of go a couple different examples. Let's just say, uh, I don't know, maybe you're just trading super, super heavy, right? You're trading super, super heavy, and you notice that could be another reason why you're taking losses. Is because you're just trading extremely, extremely heavy, right? And that's another thing we can fix. Like most of the issues that you're facing right now are all fixable. They are all fixable. You just have to put in a little bit of extra work in order to fix them. You don't want to just be like, oh well, I'm going to take this loss and just close my laptop and just go huff and puff, blah 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 blah, and not think about my trade and just kind of act like it didn't happen. If you do that mentality, you probably won't improve, right? You literally just probably won't improve. But if you're like, oh well, I did take this loss. Let me take 15 minutes real quick and just review the trade and then close my laptop. Right. You could still close your laptop, but just at least have your thoughts down on a piece of paper or a document, whatever, before you get off your computer because it's fresh. And then once you get back on your computer, you can maybe finish the rest of it, blah, 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 whatever. But you kind of get the point. Don't just sweep losses under the rug and act like it's going to get better. Trust me, from personal experience, it will not get better until you pretty much put the work in. My first 12 months of trading, I lost constantly because I didn't review my trades. I had no idea what the hell I was doing, didn't really know what I was doing improperly. And then finally, when I started, buckling down and reviewing my trades, it's like, oh, wow, this is really obvious. This is what I'm doing incorrectly. Let me fix this, right? It's basically shedding light and looking at the statistics. It's like, oh, I'm losing a lot doing this mistake. Let me just, combat it and fix it, right? Hold on, there's tons of questions and comments. Give me a sec. Let me read something. By the way, if you have any questions, thoughts about any of this stuff, feel free to drop it in the chat. Just give me a second. Let me catch up. All right. Well, I think you might have came in a little bit late. Let's express this comment one more time. So the comment is, I'm just following signals. Honestly, I don't have time to review trades. I have a full-time career. I'm paying for signals to have an expert make the knowledgeable decision for me. First, that expert might not be there tomorrow or next week or next month. So you want to be self-sufficient with yourself. Even if you have a full-time career, that is still really no excuse. The example that I made before, There was a woman with 3 children. She worked 60 hours a week. She wanted to, create an extra income for herself. She was still learning. She kept, put the work in, put the work in. She found time, and now she pretty much doesn't really work a 9 to 5 anymore, and she's a 6-figure trader. So the when someone says they don't have the time, I generally think that's bullshit. Like, it goes back to the exact same thing. It's priorities. What are your priorities? Now, side note, I can also, just to play devil's advocate, I can 100% understand if you don't want to make trading a career. That's fine. Not everyone wants to make trading a career. Some people have fantastic jobs that they love. Now, I'm not talking to everyone. I'm just talking to those specific people that have those jobs that they really, really love. That is perfectly cool. Right. But still, you still at one shape or, and the other flip of the coin, you still want to be some way, shape, or form self-sufficient, because if you don't really know what you're doing at all and you kind of just rely on someone, that person might not be here next month. They might not be here next year, and you're kind of just gonna, you're left out to dry in a sense. So I would really, really recommend attempting to put in a little bit extra work just to kind of know what you're actually doing, instead of just blindly following signals. I really wouldn't recommend blindly following signals. Like, you guys see most of my analysis. I love to be in depth with myself. I really, really, my goal is to really help you guys learn on what to do, and not just kind of be like, okay, here, enter here, exit there. That's not really what I want to do. I want to help you guys understand what I'm looking at, what I am seeing, what my thought process is, why I'm entering here, why I'm exiting here. So this way you can kind of review it yourself and be like, oh, wow, I've seen that setup before. Now, since I've seen this before, now I can probably do it again, but this time I don't have to wait for scrub. I don't have to wait for this person. I'm seeing this setup in real time that, statistically has worked before. Now let me enter it myself and be self-sufficient, right? So that's just kind of my spiel about people that say they don't have time. I guarantee you do have time. Your priorities are a little bit off. But anyway, hope that one addresses that comment. Yeah, people are talking about zero DT as well. Yeah, truthfully, zero DT can be really enticing. Um, Now, I'm not against zero DT myself. I still do trade zero DT sometimes, but I only trade it in the morning. I do not trade zero DTE in the second half of the day, just because my losses aren't favorable. I tend to lose a lot when I trade zero DT in the second half of the day, simply because of the theta decay. So what I end up doing now is I trade zero DT in the morning, but after lunchtime, I switch into the next expiration, either the next week or whatever the next expiration is. So if it's a Monday, I'll switch into a Wednesday. So Wednesday, I switch into a Friday for indexes, or if it's a Friday, I'll switch into this upcoming Friday. If it's like AMD or something like that, you kind of get the point. You just switch into the next expiration. So honestly, if you do find yourself struggling a lot, something that's a super, super easy fix is just that rule. Just don't trade zero DTE after lunchtime. You'll probably save yourself a lot of money. Uh, any good journaling software for free? Um, Honestly, I wouldn't. No, truthfully, no. Like, really good journaling platform that I would probably highly recommend would be TradeZella. I believe it's 40 a month. I'm not too sure. I paid for the yearly, but regardless, it's super, super worth it, 100%. Now, if you don't want to pay for a journaling platform, that's entirely cool. I respect that. You could kind of just have a Word document and just do something like this, like literally just this type of stuff. Just write that in a Word document and put a picture near it, and there you go. Or you could also maybe do like an Excel sheet. However you want to do it, you can still do it a freebie wise. But for an actual legitimate journaling platform, there is nothing free. You're going to have to pay some money. And if you do want to, I would highly recommend TradeZilla. I've attempted like 3 different platforms, and TradeZilla is by far my favorite. So yeah, hope that one helps. Are you uploading this? Yeah, Berdoodle. How old am I? I'm 26, almost 27. How long did it take me to become profitable? Probably like, well, I started to see some sort of consistency like 12 months in. I started to see a more consistency like, I don't know, 16, 18 months in. It's still, it's every day is a new day, right? You get to learn cool things every day. So that's pretty cool. I've been full-time trading for about a year and a half almost by now. So yeah. Another question is, do you host mentorships or classes? Yes, just message me personally. We can chat about that. I appreciate you for that. Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. You'll never be able to do it on your own self-sufficiently wise if you think like that in a negative mindset. Yes, absolutely. If you have a negative mindset, you won't win. You won't succeed, excuse me. You just want to be positive thinking. You just want to be super positive. So like that's another thing going back to like the psychology aspect. When I first started trading, I was really hard on myself, like really, really hard on myself. And I would talk extraordinarily negative. Like I don't want to say that type of stuff, but you kind of get what I'm saying. You guys have taken significant losses and probably get in the emotional mindset. I was like that for a long time. And it took me quite a while to kind of get out of that funk in a sense. So like, I'll give you a personal example. I've talked about this before, but in case you guys are new here, so this is probably like my first year of trading, and I was on a smaller account. So I'll kind of paint the picture real quick. I had a lot of issues with greed, and I don't really recall my account size at this moment, like probably 2 to 5K or something like that at that time, because I started from I started from $500, right? Anyway, so and I ended up having a really, really good trade. I forget exactly what it was, but I was up, I think, $700 in one day, which was fantastic for my account size. But I had that greed set in, and my mind was like, nah, 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 nah. Just swing it one more day. I want my first $1,000 trade. And you can kind of guess what happened. The next day, the market gapped down. Long story short, my $700 profit turned into I think, $1,200 loss. So at that time, I lost pretty much half of my account in one day. I was really, really angry. I was really, really emotional. That loss put a massive damper on my emotions, pretty much my mental state for about a week. Because I was up so significantly, and I just let that slip due to sheer arrogance, and I pretty much blew half of my trading account. And so this is something. So if you didn't tune in the last 10 minutes, please just this is something that's very, very important. I would allow myself to just pretty much self-deprecate and be super negative. And what happened was it would snowball. So I think the loss was on a Thursday. My Friday, my Saturday, my Sunday, my Monday were really, really emotional. I was still thinking about that loss 72 hours later. I was still self-deprecating and just being angry and just being emotional. I was projecting onto my loved ones, right? Like 72 hours later, when they were just attempting to help me and be like, hey, you okay? How can we help? Blah, 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 blah. I would just be really angry and just, resentful and project onto them. And I didn't even really understand it at the time what I was doing until I finally realized, a month or two later, that I was taking my losses and projecting them onto my loved ones. And that's something that's really, really, really important to understand. If you take a loss, or if you do something that causes you emotion, whether anger, sadness, whatever, that is your responsibility. They didn't push the buttons, they didn't enter your trade, they didn't exit your trade, they didn't do anything. All they're doing is being an emotional support. They're just trying to help, right? That's it. So your loss or whatever the case may be is yours and yours only. And I learned that I learned a very hard lesson about that. I ended up losing someone that was very dear to me, pretty much a 4-year relationship, because I was just really, in a sense, just projecting constantly onto her, unfortunately. I didn't really realize it until months later. But anyway, that's something that's really, really important. If I could go back and restart my trading career, that is a major thing that I would change, is just not allowing losses to affect me in that way. They affected me so greatly. It ended up costing me pretty much my mental health, my physical health, right? My relationship health. Like it cost me a lot. And this is something really important to talk about, because probably not many people will talk about it and be open about it. But if you do somehow resonate with this, and you feel yourself that you maybe get emotional and possibly take it out on others, I'm just going to tell you from personal experience, it's not worth it. You're going to, it's not worth it. You're going to go down in a rabbit hole, and it's going to take a long time to get out of it. It took me probably like 12 months to get back to on my feet. But anyway, so something I do now, I give myself a time limit, right? So remember how I talked a little bit before, I would pretty much just be pissy or emotional or self-deprecate, whatever, for like 4 or 5 days, right? Like literally for an entire week. I would still think about XYZ loss. Now, if I take a loss, I give myself 1 hour. That's it. 1 hour maximum. I can do whatever I want. I can go scream in a pillow. I can go outside, yell. I can be angry. I can be emotional. I can be sad. I can cry. I can do whatever the hell I want for 1 hour. As long as I'm not hurting anyone, as long as I'm not projecting on anyone and just kind of, by myself about it, do whatever the hell you want. All right. As long as you're not hurting anyone, and you have 1 hour to do it. Afterwards, it's done. That loss is done, right? You cannot go back and repeat it. There's no time machine. Why are you still dwelling on it? It's over with. It's in the past. It's done. You have 1 hour, and that's it. Your loss, even if you lost $30,000, yeah, dude, that sucks dick. But you're not gonna, you can't change it. It's already happened, right? So you give yourself 1 hour, and that's it. Now, once I shifted my mentality into that, that specific mindset, it really, really helped me, right? Because yeah, sure, I'll still take losses. I'll still get like kind of grumpy over it, but I know in the back of my head, I'll be fine 15 minutes from now. I'll be fine 30 minutes from now. Like I'll bounce back. Like this loss does not define me, right? So that is something that's really, really important that I wish I knew sooner. Just don't project onto your loved ones. Don't allow losses to fester in your head. Don't self-deprecate. Even if you did something really poorly, remember, you got to give yourself at least something. You got to give yourself some positive reinforcement, some kudos. Even if the trade was 90% subpar, there's probably something 10% that was decent. Right. So give yourself some kudos and don't negatively speak about yourself. Be positive. Don't project onto others. Your loss is your loss only. Give yourself 1 hour. Do whatever you want. Cry. Punch a fucking wall if you have to. Do whatever you want. You have 1 hour. Then you're done. Right. Obviously, punching a wall is a joke. Don't do that. But you get the picture. You can do whatever you want. Just don't hurt anyone. And you give yourself 1 hour. But yeah, that is something that's extremely, extremely important to me, that I learned the hard way. First thing, if I could repeat my entire trading journey, would be to tell myself, hey, stop getting so emotional. Losses will happen, right? Just don't fester, don't project on others. And then the secondary thing, I would just tell myself to kind of just, how do I put it? Just not be so arrogant and have an ego, because I have a very big ego when I first started trading, and I thought I knew everything. But in reality, I wasn't even scratching the surface. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. And I refused to seek education. I refused any of that type of stuff. I was just basically self-teaching myself for months, and nothing was clicking. I just, I was doing everything, but I wasn't doing it properly, right? I was just kind of all over the place. So something else I would really tell myself, if I could rewind 3 years, like, hey, stop being an egotistical douche in a sense, seek education, it'll be worth it. Because even if you pay two, three, four, $5,000, it's worth it because you actually know what the heck you're doing. And once you know what you're doing and pretty much learn, then that $2,000 you can make back really quickly. You can make that $5,000 back really quickly, whatever the cost may be, as long as it's a reputable trader or a reputable person that you're learning from. I can almost guarantee you, whatever the price is, you'll make back because you'll understand what you're doing and you're self-sufficient, right? So that's something I also would tell myself, because I didn't really seek education until like 12 months in. So I was basically just, in the dark for 12 months, just losing money, losing money, losing money. So all that money that I lost, I could have just saved myself so much time and just be like, hey, I just lost 5 grand. Why didn't I just put this 5 grand into this mentorship and save myself like 6 months? Right. That's another thing that kind of really irritates me sometimes. If someone's just like, oh, well, I'm not able to afford that. That's fine. I respect that so much. You're not able to afford it. But on the grand scheme of things, sometimes these people have like $50,000 in debt. So if they're in like $50,000 worth of college debt, but they refuse to spend like two, three, $4,000 on possibly another way to create income, that just doesn't make sense to me. Like you're literally creating another income for yourself at a fraction of the price. Like college will cost you $50,000, $100,000. A mentorship from a literal ex hedge fund trader will cost you like 10K. And you're getting like legitimate professional help from an ex market maker on the floor, pretty much, right? Like obviously you don't have to spend that much money, but you get the point. Like you're spending a fraction of the price of college and you're creating an extra income for yourself. And the other beautiful aspect of trading, there is no salary cap. Like it's not far-fetched to say I can make $10,000 today or tomorrow or in a week, right? Like you have no salary cap. That's the beautiful part of it. Like this job and commission-based job, that's pretty, and obviously legal stuff, but we're going the legal route, is the only real jobs that you have no salary cap. Like you can make $100,000 in a month. That's not far-fetched. Like I have personal friends that do that. Like I have 6, 7, and 8 figure friends that I know personally that do that type of stuff. So if they can do it, why are like why can't we, type of thing, right? So that's another thing that I want to chat about real quick. Like you want to be a sponge. Like you want to surround yourself with people that are like-minded and more or less further ahead than you on your trading career. Like that was something that was really important to me. That's another reason why I spent money on mentorships, because these people are 6, 7, 8 figure traders. I'm like, okay, how can I get from here to there? Like what steps can I do to get from my level of level 1 to their level of level 20? Like how can I get from me to there, from here to there? And at first, when I first started trading, I thought that was like impossible to make a lot of money per day. And my thought process was pretty much, oh my God, if I can make $25 or $50 a day, I'm super happy. I'm super happy. But then I was surrounding myself with, like-minded individuals and people that are further ahead of their career than myself. And they're just showing me like thousands and tens of thousands and like hundreds of thousands on a weekly or monthly basis. I'm like, wait, why am I thinking so small? Right? I'm thinking I'm happy with, $100 a month. This guy's making 10,000 a month. Now, by the way, profit is profit. Don't scoff at profit. But what I'm expressing here is you don't want to limit yourself. Like when I first started trading, I was limiting myself because I thought that $100 was perfect. But once I started surrounding myself with, in a sense, bigger fish, I realized, okay, it actually is possible for me to make 6, 7 figures trading, right? So then it goes one more step. It's like, okay, how can I get from me right now to them? Like how can I get from $10 a day to $1,000 a day type of thing, you know what I mean? And then it's just all about education, studying, putting the work in, journaling, recapping, like all the stuff we talked about. All the stuff is fixable. If you're struggling with something, it's fixable. If your strategy, fixable, psychology, fixable. You just have to believe in yourself and you will. Right. So I know I definitely went on a rant there, so let me catch up on some of the comments. But if you have any thoughts or questions, thoughts, anything like that, just feel free to drop in the chat. We'll talk for another like 5-10 minutes, and we'll end it on that note. One sec. Okay, so question was, I always panic during pullbacks and set really tight stop loss and always miss out on bigger gains. Any suggestions? So a couple different suggestions. The one would be, okay, I'm not really sure exactly how you trade, but are you trading initial breakouts or are you trading the pullbacks? So what I mean by that is, let's just say, oops, let's just say, there's a resistance. Okay, so are you entering here or are you entering here? All right, so this is important to understand, because if you're entering and chasing a top or a bottom, either one, then your risk to reward is really, really skewed. Like your risk to reward is really, really skewed, because technically speaking, your risk is down here, like that's your stop loss, and your reward is whatever up here. So, you're not getting a good risk reward. So you actually want to wait for some sort of a pullback and then get in. You don't want to chase the top. I'm not really sure exactly what you're doing, but just for the sake of time, if you do, if you're more than welcome to message me personally and we can kind of talk about your specific situation. I'm always happy to help. I love helping people. So just message me privately and we can talk more in depth about your specific situation. TraderSync is fire. Yeah, I've used TraderSync as well before TradeZello. Definitely would recommend that one as well. Uh, if capital isn't an issue, would you trade shares instead of options or futures? No, I would trade futures 100%. What's your advice for someone who's trying to get better at charting? Something I really like is using support and resistance. Honestly, it's screen time. It's really just screen time, and pretty much understanding the auction process, understanding how liquidity pulls, supply and demand, support and resistance is helpful. Um, but yeah, I have a couple videos on my YouTube about that type of stuff. Like I have support and resistance, stop run hunts, supply and demand. So definitely pretty useful information there. If you're want to learn how to chart more, definitely a good start to go. Excuse me, whew, my brain. Definitely a good spot to go to. So I only follow signals. What can I do to improve? Yeah, that's a good question. So, okay, this goes for any signal-based person. So like myself, someone else, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to take a signal just because someone signals it. So something else I would really highly recommend is like, okay, let's just say XYZ person called out, I don't know, Apple at 10:04 a.m. Eastern, whatever, right? You don't have to take that. And then maybe they called a cut at 10:0, I don't know, 50 a.m., something like whatever, right? You don't have to take this, but you could actually go back and review the trade after the fact and be like, okay, what the heck were they seeing? Why did they enter this trade? Okay, why did they cut the trade? Like, did it work out? Did it not work out? Right. So this way, you're not utilizing your actual capital, but you're still learning. And the stock market is definitely repeatable, like it follows patterns and stuff. So if one thing happens, I can almost guarantee you will happen again, right? So this way you're still learning, but you're not using your actual capital, and you can start spotting things in real time next time around, right? So it's something I would really recommend if you're following signals but want to learn how to do stuff yourself. What else? Impressive discipline for a 26-year-old. Hey, Appreciate that. Do you supply and demand? Yep, or doodle do. I've been trading for 2 years now. Honestly, haven't been profitable yet. Well, I believe in you. I believe in you. It's time for you to believe in yourself. You got this. You're the best. How do you draw your zones? What is your main strategy that made you very profitable and comfortable? Yeah, so things I use are point of control, VWAP, 200 and 300 EMA. That's pretty much it. So they're the high value areas. So high value areas. So this is where I like to become a participant, whether it be, buyers or sellers in a sense. Excuse me, purchasing or selling, but regardless. I don't really chase breakouts. I look pretty much when price action comes to me. I don't like to chase trades. So if the price action is coming to one of these specific areas, point of control, VWAP, 200 or 300 EMA, or like a really, really heavy supply or really, really heavy demand zone, then sure, I'll become active. But other than that, I don't really become active. Other than that. But regarding the supply and demand aspect, that's an entirely different topic. That'll probably take me like 30 minutes to review. So I do have a couple videos on my YouTube as well if you want to check that out. uh, how many accounts did I blow? I don't know, man. Probably like 10 or 15 or something. I don't know. I blew a lot of accounts. Let's just be honest. I blew a lot. But that's okay. Losses don't define me. It's no big deal. One sec. Still reading. Just give me a sec, guys. Yeah, that's actually a very good good comment. During a bull market, you can make money very quickly. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could technically make money in any type of market. It really depends on your specific strategy. You could sell options, you could sell premiums, you could do spreads, you can do leaps. That's another really cool thing about trading. There's no one, answer. There is no one best way. Like if it works for you, then it doesn't really matter. If it, as long as it works for you, you can do whatever the hell you want. You can day trade, you can scalp, you can be an equity trader, you can be a long-term investor, you can do whatever the heck you want. Right. So that's the really cool part about trading is you can make money so many different ways. Yep. Good comment. You are the combination of 5 people that you hang out with the most. Yep, Doodle. Absolutely. Do I day trade or swing? I day trade primarily. Yeah. That's a good question as well. Great topic today. First, thank you. How do you reduce commissions and options? Is that possible? Yeah, so you can contact your brokerage and pretty much just ask them if they will reduce it for you. Now, it really depends also on your account size and how often you trade. But if you have like a relatively semi-decent account size and you trade decently often, they'll most likely reduce your commission. So like example, TOS, you start at 65 cents round trip, enter and exit. So, 65 to enter, 65 to exit. But usually on the first contact, they'll most likely reduce it to 55 cents each way. Now, it is a little bit more difficult to get it down further. So that once you have to have a larger account to be able to get it down further. But I know people that have, I think like 20 cents, 25 cents commissions, but they do trade a lot and they do have a larger account. So, that's just something to think about. Kevin enters on breakouts, chasing tops and bottoms. What do you think of that style of trading? That kind of goes back to my original point. You can make money tons of different ways. Like if it works for him, that's awesome. That's super, super cool. I personally just doesn't work for me. What works for me is, finding these high value areas, point of control, VWAP, 200-300 EMA. These work for me. It might not work for you, but historically, these are very highly probable setups. Instagram, I don't really use Instagram. How can we message you personally to ask questions? I'll link my Discord and like Telegram information towards the end of the class in a couple minutes, but always happy to help. How do you use VWAP? Entirely different thing on my YouTube, like a 10-minute video. Always happy to help. Guys, I'm telling you, this is like all the stuff that you're asking. I guarantee you, I probably have a video of it. Like VWAP, I have a video. Supply and demand, I have a video. Support and resistance, stop run hunts, VWAP. You know, like stop losses. Like I just check it out. Check it out. I have a video for you guys. I promise. How are you to trim on an account that's under $25,000? So I'm assuming you're on a margin account. So I would recommend just switching to a cash account, because then you're able to kind of get in and out without worrying about a pattern day trader rule. So the PDT rule. So when you're on a margin account, you're only allowed to have 3 day trades on a weekly basis. If you have more than that, then you get flagged. If you do it twice, then you get your account locked for upwards of 90 days. And I personally had that happen to me once. It was utter BS, but my account got locked for 90 days. So just to combat that, just honestly just use a cash account until you have over 25K, and then you can switch into a margin if you're comfortable with it. That's another thing that kind of gets a bad rap in a sense. Like margin accounts aren't scary, they aren't bad. They can be if you don't know what the heck you're doing with them, but like margin accounts are actually extremely useful. So for example, you know how a cash account has only, one specific buying power per day, let's say $5,000. You're only able to spend $5,000 that specific day, and then you're pretty much benched until the next day. For a margin account, that's not really the case. You can get in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, and really not have any issues of buying power limitations whatsoever. Now, the one con about margin accounts, however, you can really blow your account up really, really quickly. So I'll just use futures as a quick example and compare it to options. So let's just say, for example, I'm on I don't know, $1,000 cash account options. I'm on $1,000 margin account futures. So let's pretend I'm a degenerate and I spend $1,000 on one option contract or one position, whatever. And the most amount of money, actually, let me scratch that, scratch all that, scratch that. So let's pretend I spend $500 on that option trading account. I don't know, I buy 2 Tesla positions, whatever the case. Okay. So I spend $500. Now, the most I'm able to lose is $500. That's it. Like if I have no stop loss, I let that shit go to zero, I'm only able to lose $500. Now, flip side, margin accounts, that is not the case. You can lose everything if you don't have a stop loss. So same example, let's say I put up $500 collateral in the margin account, right? And I don't have a stop loss and it just keeps going lower, 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 lower. You can lose more than that $500. Like you can lose 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, whatever the case. Like you can lose more than what you put in. So that is something that's extremely dangerous and definitely something to be mindful of if you don't really have risk management. Margin accounts, especially like a futures account, is not for you just yet, because you 100% can lose more than what you put in. So that's a big, big difference between cash accounts and margin accounts. Other than that, the margin accounts are actually really, really useful. Truthfully, they're very, very useful. I ended up going a lot longer than I wanted to. I just looked at the time. Do you guys have any other questions? Anything you want to chat about before we end the class? I'll go like 2 more questions. So just whatever you have. I know people are asking about my information. Here is my Telegram and YouTube information. There you go. No question is a dumb question, sir. I'm new. What platform do you use? So I use what is known as TD Ameritrade, so Thinkorswim, and I also use Tradeovate. So Thinkorswim I use for pretty much cash account, and Tradeovate, which is what I use for futures account, which is my margin. Do I trade SPY? Yes. I'm just making sure I didn't miss any comments or questions. One sec. I don't know a future for aluminum. I'm going to be honest. I don't. The only futures contracts I purchased are pretty much Nasdaq or ES. So yeah. Now I also got a couple questions regarding like mentorships and stuff. Honestly, that's another cool thing because it really depends on what your style is, right? It's what your specific style is. So like you want to learn from someone that primarily has the same kind of thought process you would do. So like what I mean by that is, let's say you are a very, very conservative trader, but you're attempting to learn from someone that's really, really aggressive. That's probably not the best fit for you. Like that is not the best fit. You want to find someone that generally has the same kind of thought process as you, right? There, so that's kind of important. You want to have some sort of same, likeness about you guys, because if it's not going to be the right fit, that's just kind of a waste of your time, the other person's time. It's just kind of a waste of money in general. So you kind of want to figure out what you want to do and then find the people that kind of click with you. So me personally, I'm more of a kind of moderate trader. I wait for trades to come to me. I'm really huge on the psychological aspect, the reviewing aspect. I don't like breakouts. I don't really trade very often. I trade maybe like 1 or 2 times a day. That's my style of work. It works. Some other people might, trade 10 times a day, be really aggressive. It works for them, right? So it really, really depends on what you want to specifically learn about, and then you kind of go from there. But yeah, that's important to honestly talk about. I know a lot of people are also asking about like classes I teach personally. I am actually teaching one starting tomorrow, funny enough. So if you are curious about that, kind of just message me personally. We can talk about it. And oh, it's also Halloween. Yeah, I'll do a Halloween discount since it's a last minute thing. Why not? Just to show some love to the homies. So if you're curious about that, you want to learn some cool stuff, just message me personally and we can chat about it. But I appreciate you guys so much for staying a little bit extra. I know this is a longer one. If you do have any questions after the fact, if you just want to generally chat, feel free to message me. Always happy to help a fellow trader. Love you guys. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your night. Here's my information one more time if you'd like to chat. I'm not answering any tax questions ever on any of my Zoom lessons. Please talk to accountant. I'm not an accountant. I don't want to give any of that type of information out. Yeah, accountants for tax questions, not me. I go to an accountant too, so I honestly don't really know anything about taxes. I just kind of just let my accountant do everything, if we're being super duper honest. But anyway, thank you guys so much. Here's my information one more time. Class starts tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Let's start it. Let's do it up. See you guys tomorrow, hopefully, and see you guys for tomorrow trading day. By the way, remember, it could be a choppy day again tomorrow because big investors are waiting for Wednesday's FOMC meeting. Tulu, enjoy the rest of your night. Sleep tight.